So Doctor Strange 2 just came out on Disney Plus, what was it, like yesterday? Technically it's Thursday, so yeah, Wednesday. And I'm going back and watching it. And as I'm watching it, I started thinking. I was like, where did Wanda go at the end of Doctor Strange 2? Which, by the way, spoilers for a movie that's been out for a few months. If you haven't seen it by now, that's a you problem, not a me problem. So I was sitting there thinking, I was like, where did she go at the end of it, right? Like we know how that played out, that she seemingly, quote unquote, died, but there was never a body. And so I don't know if it was ever confirmed that she did die. And so my thought is, where in the world did she go? And as these wheels started turning, as you guys know, when it comes to these theories that I have, these just different ideas come into my head. And I started thinking about Dark Reign. Now, I know it's going to sound crazy. Those guys who read the story of Dark Reign, I know you're going to be like, no, there's no way it's Dark Reign. I think they're going to do that, but with a different, they're going to do it with a twist. It's going to be Dark Reign in name only, but not really the way that we saw it, right? Especially not Siege on Asgard, although that would be cool. So for those of you guys who aren't familiar with this, it all goes back to Civil War, right? At the end of Civil War, Tony Stark was made director of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was his reward for basically being a dick. And so then in between Dark Reign and Civil War, you got two events. The first one was House of M, which most of you guys know about that, if for no other reason than WandaVision and all the interest in Scarlet Witch as a result of, the WandaVision show and all that kind of stuff, heightened levels of power and whatnot. Once House of M comes to an end, you go into Secret Invasion. And Secret Invasion was basically the story where it turned out that Skrulls were secretly replacing superheroes across the world. Tony Stark was kicked out as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. because the question was, how could you possibly be director of the world's foremost intelligence agency and not know this is happening? Now, Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, intercepted information at a crucial point in time that allowed him to basically turn the tide of the war. And he essentially replaced Tony Stark as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., dismantled it, renamed it to Hammer, and then did what villains do. Now, the thing about this is that superhuman registration was still in effect. And so those superheroes who stood against Norman Osborn, which was basically all of them, they all just went underground. They couldn't publicly stand against him. And so in response to this, Norman Osborn ended up launching the dark versions of superhero teams, Dark Avengers, Dark X-Men, different things like that. So my thought was this: the big villain of the new Marvel Cinematic Universe phase, whatever you want to call it, is Kang the Conqueror, right? Now, I know this is going to sound crazy. What if Wanda was plucked out, right? What if she was snatched up by Kang the Conqueror? Now, I know it's going to sound kind of nuts, but what if that's happened, right? And here's it's entirely possible. Here's the reason why. Imagine that happening, right? Imagine that whole situation unfolding. Everything at the temple and all that kind of stuff, everything's crumbling down. They've all taken off. Wanda's about to die, and then everything freezes, stops right there. And Kang the Conqueror shows up. And Kang the Conqueror is like, let's have a discussion. Or he whisks her away. With Kang the Conqueror, it's not really stopping time so much as it is traveling through time. So he probably wouldn't be able to stop things in that traditional sense, but he basically whisks her away. And is essentially like, here's the deal. I can give you what you want. I can give you the thing that you're looking for, right? A reality where you have your kids. I know you kind of changed your ways and you saw the light and all that kind of stuff, but let's be honest with ourselves. If you really could go back to a universe where your kids were there and you could live that life, would you live it, right? I found a reality. There's a reality that exists out there where the Wanda Maximoff in that universe had her kids, but she died. And so now they don't have a mother. You don't have children. I can get you to that universe, but I need you to do something for me, right? Imagine that's the case, because one of the things that Immortus told us, right? Like he remains whatever, I'm going to call him Immortus. It's basically what he is. One of the things that Immortus told us at the end of Loki is that his version of Kang the Conqueror, right? Like his alternate version, that Kang is evil on a level that we haven't seen before. And it's not that far outside the realm of possibility that he would just show up to Wanda, promise her everything in the world, and then lie. Because what can she do to him, right? He literally manipulates a time stream. All he has to do is go back in time and just adjust things so that she and Quicksilver never have their powers awakened using the Mind Stone by Baron von Strucker, and Wanda Maximoff never exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know her. We've never seen or heard of her. And the entire timeline changes because of that, right? That's literally all he has to do. Or he can go back in time, stop her from being born. Or he can go back in time and ensure that bomb detonates in the apartment that she's in when it crashes into the place where her and Quicksilver are, and they never exist. Her and Pietro never exist in the MCU, right? There's a lot of things he could do to just erase her history. Maybe he blackmails her or whatever the case is. Now, the question would be, why? What would be the purpose when it comes to this? Right? What's the purpose of doing this whole thing? My idea here is what I think they're gonna do with Kang the Conqueror. And I've been saying this for a while, and I think it rings true because Kang the Conqueror, his story is about time, which means the movie that we deal with Whatever that final climactic film is that deals with Kang Conqueror is gonna deal with time. What I think we're gonna see is some kind of Avengers Forever situation. What I think Kang the Conqueror is doing is I think he's traveling through the time stream and grabbing different Avengers from different points in time, and they're basically becoming his Avengers, his Dark Avengers. And that's it, right? His own Avengers team. And then in turn, you basically get the other versions, right? The Light Avengers, if you want to call them that, right? The good guys. And you end up having like an Avengers team from different points in time. This movie that we get with Kang, this final phase, this would be the way that you get Chris Evans' Captain America back and Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man back, right? It's the way that you get some of these Avengers that we all know and love. We get them, like we bring them back to the MCU, possibly some Avengers that we haven't seen yet. It'd be a great way to do that, right? It'd be a great way to segue into that. I think that would be awesome to kind of give us a sort of past meets present. Now, there is a credible argument to make there. No, those original Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, all that kind of stuff, they had their time, right? They had 10 years. Now we're on to the next thing. Let's just focus on the next group of superheroes. That's entirely fair. I 100% agree with that, and I wouldn't see an issue with that. But when you're dealing with someone like Kang, you're dealing with the idea of time. Now, the reason why I think this sort of thing is possible is because that's basically what happened with the whole Ultron, right? The Ultron Forever storyline. Those of you guys who never saw that, Ultron Forever was basically a reworking of the original Avengers Forever story, except to focus on Ultron. Instead of it being Avengers that were effectively plucked out of time, facing, from like different eras, you kind of got the same thing, but it was basically where Ultron had conquered the world, and he had his own like robotic Avengers team, right? His own kind of Dark Avengers to a degree. I could easily see them reworking that with Kang the Conqueror. And I'm going to tell you, I think that would be cool. I think it'd be pretty awesome to have that, right? I don't know if it'd be like a dark version of Steve Rogers or something along those lines. We know they borrow very heavily, like the MCU borrows very, very heavily from Jonathan Hickman and his run on Avengers and New Avengers. And I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility for that, because for those of you guys who ever read that story, there is a point where an alternate reality Avengers team invades, like they show up in the main Marvel universe. And instead of it being like Thor, who can lift his hammer, who like, whosoever holds this hammer, if they be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. The idea is whosoever holds this hammer, if they be unworthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Literally, you have to be a villain, like a bad guy, or like an unworthy person who's not pure of heart to lift that hammer. So there's like different evil versions of characters from across the multiverse. I think Wanda would be one of those big heavy hitters, right? One of those people that just catches the attention, because while we've been shown different versions of Wanda across the multiverse, in this sense we only have a couple, the one that she was trying to possess, the one that she had dreams of, the ones that she was looking at, it seems like Wanda from 616 is the only version of Wanda that becomes that corrupted, goes that crazy, and becomes that powerful. That they all have the ability to use their powers or their whatever, but she's the only one that truly becomes the Scarlet Witch. It seems like she's the only one in the multiverse that's like that. And if that's the case, that makes her unique, right? Maybe like Superior Iron Man, we end up getting him, right? The only version of Iron Man across the multiverse that got all the Infinity Stones for himself, or maybe some version of Thanos or something along those lines. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be pretty baller to see that happen. So I want to know what you guys think, right? Do you think this is a credible possibility that Wanda in Doctor Strange was snatched up by Kang the Conqueror because he is in effect forming his own Dark Avengers team to combat whatever forces he ends up going against? And that at the end of the day, this movie is effectively going to have different evil Avengers from across the multiverse facing off against good guy Avengers from across the multiverse, or from the time stream, both past and present. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really curious, because I think this is a really, really legitimate possibility. I mean, I really, really do. And if it's not, I'd be kind of disappointed, because I feel like this would just be a fantastic chance to bring together past and present Avengers, right? I mean, I think it would just be cool. Like, imagine what it would look like when you have Chris Evans' Captain America and Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man meeting like Moon Knight and teaming up with, I don't know, like America Chavez, or something along those lines, right? Imagine that kind of team up taking place. Or maybe they bring in Adam Brashear, the Blue Marvel, or we get Hyperion or something like that. Imagine that were to happen. Like, imagine we got that whole thing. I think it creates incredible possibilities here. I really, really do. So with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this to an end. Again, I really want to know what you guys think about this idea. I really want to know what your opinions are. And let me know down in the comments section. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.